Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew, and today we're doing the second part to my series of Hiya Toys figure comparison videos. Because yesterday, in this corner, the Hiya Toys went up against the NECA Godzilla 2019 V2. You can check that video out. It's on my channel page. But this time, it's got a pretty great opponent. It's got one of the most high quality figures of all time. Figure of the year material. This thing sold out like hotcakes, and even the scalpers on eBay and Amazon, they're selling it. Like, this figure is one of the most legendary figures of all time. It is the Playmates Godzilla vs. Kong Heat Ray Godzilla. Okay, I can't hold in the joke anymore. Yeah, it might seem ridiculous for me to do a comparison between him versus him, a $10 figure versus a $50 figure, but I know I'm not the first one to do this comparison, so let's go ahead and do this. We're going to be doing another 7-rounder. Sculpt and paint, articulation, size, accessories, price, availability, and packaging. So let's start off with the sculpt and paint. I mean, upon all sense of the word, do I really need to go into an in-depth analysis? You already know who wins this round, but let's go ahead and see what figures or what the figures feature as far as paint and sculpt goes. Both of them feature blue eyes, with both of them, being rather solid blue, but the overall coloring of the head, not just the head, but the body itself is vastly different. The Hiya goes for a more realistic looking kind of gray, charcoal gray flesh tone with a lot of bumps and crevices across the body and some blue spray for like things like the fins, eyes, mouth, neck, and the chest. Even though I think I already said the chest. While the Playmates features a rather just solid black plastic with some mild blue-gray dry brushing across the sides of the body and some decently applied detailing. It's very washed out, but also features some translucent blue dorsal fins and a blue spray across the tail, which we're going to look at in a sec. But as for the heads, obviously, as far as the application goes, the Hiya clearly wins here because the Hiya has a beautiful spray across the eye. The interior of the mouth is really good as well, and the detail inside the jaw looks really good. You can actually see all the individual sculpted details. While the Playmates features basic white strips and basic applied pink tongue and gum paint, and the eye paint is rather hit or miss, because bringing in my second Heat Ray Godzilla, which I got from a lot, you can see that this one's eyes, they rather fit in well. And the this side of the eye, this eye, looks a little down, but it's overall in the correct position. This one has its eye kind of centered well, but this one has its eye a little too high up on the head. It's that versus, I can't even show it on correctly on both figures. There you go. See that? One's higher, one's lower. So as you can tell, the quality consistency of Playmates is a bit jarring. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, but it's a kid's toy. It's a kid's toy. Bandai Creation figures were about the same price, sold at the same places, and were about the same price point, and they didn't have that sort of issue with the eyes. At least not as commonly as Playmates does. Playmates' biggest stick in the fight, personally, for me, is definitely its beautiful translucent blue dorsal plates. They are unresistably amazing, and anyone can agree with you that these dorsal plates are beautiful, especially with how rubbery they are. They are most definitely safe for kids. Rather a little pointy, but I mean, it's nothing like eye-poppingly sharp, unlike this fin up here. And most importantly, these fins. But these fins actually have some blue paint to them. They're not translucent, which is ironic because they are coming out with a translucent version. Like, why do that? You come up with this one, you don't make it translucent, and then you come up with a translucent version? That doesn't make any sense. But what is here is absolutely beautiful. They have like this dark kind of indigo kind of outline here, and then they kind of go in with like the glowing as it's going in. It's almost like a light bulb, how it's like coming from the center and glows. That is really good in my opinion. But the Playmates again has see-through, so you could put a literal light in there if you did so wish. Next, let's talk about the claw paint. The Hiya Toys features a lot of dry brushing and kind of like detailing on their claws, while Playmates has basic slapped on brown paint on their claws, which is more apparent on the feet claws as opposed to the hand claws, which are painted there. It's just not as noticeable. And same thing goes for the Hiya. You can see it, it's just very hard to tell. With that being said, I honestly gotta give it to, well, again, Hiya, but the vibrancy of this one makes it stand out a lot more in my opinion. Although, let's be honest, the application in comparison to that is just pure garbage. Also, the dry brushing on both figures. Very mixed here, because while Playmates does feature a lot of good blue kind of dry brushing, which is more apparent on the Battle Roar Godzilla, which I'll actually bring in for a brief comparison. The Battle Roar Godzilla, if you remember my original review, I complained of how much dry brushing there was on here, because like, look at that. That's just caked on. It's the same type of stuff that's on here, but it's, of course, much more minimalized here than it is here. So I don't know what the factory workers at Playmates were on when they were doing the dry brushing on this. But the Hiya Toys does feature a lot more better applied paint. But again, for the price point, it's to be expected. Last but not least, we're going to be taking a look at the tail of both figures. And as you can tell, there is a clear winner, but let's just get into it. From here to here, at the very tip, is pure dry brushed blue with the sides of the tail being dry brushed in that more kind of gray coating. With underneath the tail is just more of that like rickety kind of structure, almost like industrial looking color, and it does have like some very sandy like dry brushing bits towards the bottom of the tail, while the Playmates features a very rubbery tail which actually kind of curls in almost like a question mark and has a beautiful blue spray from this point of the tail to this point of the tail. Why they didn't do this, I have no idea, but hey, it's probably just to cut costs, despite the fact that the promotional pictures showed a fully colored tail as opposed to just a half-colored tail. And does not have any other additional kind of like dry brushing or anything, although the spray here kind of gives the illusion like it's actually glowing, which I do so appreciate. So, let's be honest, round one easily goes to the Hiya. Hiya easily wins this because, well, it has the superior sculpted detail, does not have as mellow of detail also, and I will say, even though this is plainly obvious, movie accuracy, because I'm a sucker for movie accuracy, although the Playmates is not bad at all in the sculpt and paint department. I just kind of wish that, you know, they would have maybe spiced things up with maybe some more dry brushing across the body. Also, I will say again, the fins are the saving grace for this thing. Because you got a spray here and some beautiful translucent fins there. That is the main thing why this dude is better than him. Translucent fins. Nah, but really, he wins round one. Round two, articulation. And we're going to, again, I know it's a slobber knocker, but let's go ahead and give it the point where it deserves. Both figures feature an articulated hinged jaw that have about the same amount of movement. Hiya features the hinged tongue, ball joints at the head and neck. No, these are not extra joints, they're just merely sleeves. Pop off the head, you'll see why. And although there is a joint here, you can only get so much arm movement out of it to the point where you actually start cracking it. Look at that. That actually starts to split the plastic. So I would not recommend to start twisting and turning this thing. Both of them feature movable arms, but the Hiya has extra joints, as the shoulder is a ball joint, the elbow is a swivel hinge, and the wrist is a swivel hinge. The Hiya Toys has a ball joint here at the waist, and both of them have articulated hips. Although, keep in mind, Playmates is much more limited because it's a basic swivel that has it can only go up to there, and it's in a prefixed pose. Same with this one, as it can go only up to here, and there's no articulation at the feet. You try to move those things are going to scrape up over time because both the head and the feet are plugged in on square pegs, not circular pegs. Circular pegs will give you the movement, not square pegs. But the Haya features ball joints at the hips, double hinged knees, and ball joints at the ankles. The Playmates features one singular ball joint here at the tail, and nothing else for the entirety of it. Even though it is rubber, there's no wire in there. While the Haya features a series of 9 ball joints running from the base of the tail to the tip of the tail, allowing for a lot of great movement. So once again, the 0.4 articulation goes to the Haya by a mere landslide. Although it is cool that he does come with a hinged jaw and a ball jointed tail, he comes with both of those and more. Simply put, there's no contest here. Haya wins round 2.